I'll call the regular meeting of the Irmo Town Council to order, and I will recognize Councilman Hoot to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On with me in prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening asking your blessings upon this council, that our decisions will be fair and pleasing. We also ask that you give a special blessing to those folks in Boston that have experienced a most dreadful experience. Lord, that's something that we haven't had to endure on our land, and we ask your blessings and strength that we may come through this. Guide them and keep them, return them to their families. Bless our servicemen that are in foreign lands and service women that are fighting to give us the right to be here and speak freely tonight. We ask all of these things in our Heavenly Father's name. Amen. Amen.
Next item on the agenda is the reading of the minutes from April 2nd. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as written?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor of approving the minutes as written, do so with show of hands. And approved. Next item is the administrative briefing. Mr. Brown, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, sir.
Any questions of Mr. Brown on anything? Being none, one thing I wanted to ask on that ribbon cutting, the Pro, where is that at? Is that in town?
What? I'm sorry?
The Pro Chiropractic for later this week? You know where that one is?
I don't know for sure. I mean, I got that from Tiffany, and she's not here to tell me where it is, so I don't know exactly where it is.
Any other questions? None being. Next thing on the agenda is receipt of communications. Is there any communication anyone would like to share? And next item is presentation by citizens. This is a place where citizens can come speak to the town council in regards to stuff that's on the agenda tonight. All we ask is you give us the name and address for the record, and then also which agenda item it is you'd like to speak to. And seeing none, we will move to the next item, unfinished business, and there is no unfinished business. And next item would be new business. Item A, approval to sell a portion of Lexington Avenue to Irmo Smiles. Is there a motion for approval?
I'd like to withdraw that.
Okay. Well, we can just not make a motion, it'll go away.
Okay.
All right. And next item is approval of Lexington Avenue easement with Irmo Smiles Industry. Is there a motion for approval of the easement?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I believe you have a paper written up, drawn up by Mr. Moore, and has given them rights to improve this area. And do you?
I've got the easement.
But
Right
I
here.
think it would be good if maybe Jake Moore would explain what we're going to do, what we could do.
It's really very simple. This is up by Irmo Elementary School. Dr. Raymond and Dr. Raymond are here. Mr. Dr. Raymond has the orthodontic center right outside of town, and Mrs. Dr. Raymond, I was very happy to learn, is going to be moving her dentistry office to the old Bob Capes property right outside of Irmo Elementary. As I'm sure most of you know, the Raymonds have been very, very supportive of many of the undertakings of Irmo and some of its related activities in the past several years. They have been tremendous supporters of Arbor Day, beautification, and many of the other things that we have tried to do. And I, for one, being a big fan of business, and just delighted that Mrs. Dr. Raymond is going to be locating her dental office here in Irmo. From what I can gather, she has a sterling reputation as a dentist. I know some of her patients who think she's just wonderful. I also understand that she doesn't hurt you if you go into dental work.
Mr. Dr. Raymond has a very nice office.
Yes, he does.
Also right on Wakemark Boulevard, which is an asset.
The proposal is basically to provide them with an easement to provide curb and guttering and beautification between the roadway and their dental office. This will be a tremendous help to them because it will actually afford them some additional parking and make it to where the customers of the dental center are not going to be quite as inconvenienced coming in and out of the dental office. So it'll help the dental office. It ought to basically help the town of Irmo as well because it will provide a distinct curb in the driveway coming into Irmo Elementary. It will preserve that big willow oak tree. He will not be taking it out. That big willow oak tree will stay there. Hopefully the construction will not disturb the root system, but the construction is whatever it is. He has come forward with a landscaping plan that involves, I think, 5 or 6 new trees, either oak trees or crepe myrtles, I believe, along with a significant amount of vegetated buffer between the parking area and the driveway. I've seen the plans of the new building itself. It is something that we can all be proud of. I think it will be an overall addition to town compared to what was there. Although I like the outside look of the Bob Cates building, it was basically falling down inside and could not be salvaged. The easement that we prepared, we are advising that we provide them with an easement rather than a sale. Number one, trying to get a valuation of that property would have entailed a appraisal, and God knows what the thing would actually have been worth, if anything. The value of the property as it sits would probably have been worth less than the amount it would take to appraise it. The easement also gives simply an easement if in fact we own it. As you know, some of the actual ownership of the rights-of-way going back to 1890 are established primarily by way of plat and not by deed, and I don't even think we have a deed to it. I just think we have ownership of it by acquiescence and prior claim. So if we provide simply an easement as to those things which we do have, if it turned out that John Doe owned it instead of us, we would not have any potential exposure. So you're lessening the exposure to the town. Additionally, in order to alleviate any potential claims that you're giving somebody something for nothing, the easement provides that if you ever did want it back, you can get it back on 90 days notice. Chances of that ever happening, in my humble opinion, are slim to none. But so you're not really giving away anything. In my humble opinion, what you're getting is a very qualified professional office, good looking, well maintained, with very solid citizens who will be a benefit to this town. We're getting significant beautification, and part of what we're getting from the easement is actually a requirement that they do the landscaping and that they maintain the landscaping as on the plan. So in my estimation, I was asked to prepare the easement. Dr. Raymond has agreed to pay the costs of the actual preparation of the easement. He's paid for the survey, he's paid for the preparation of the easement, and the document itself is relatively self-explanatory and relatively simple. If you look at the easement as prepared, it shows the easement area, it shows the landscaping area. He and his wife are here, or she and her husband, however we want to look at it, are here to basically address any questions the council may have. In my humble opinion, this is a very real win-win situation, and Irmo has always attempted to be very business-friendly, and it would certainly seem that this would be not only a business-friendly, but an environmental-friendly and a community-friendly thing for us to consider. I would recommend it wholeheartedly. Thank you. Question?
What's the chances of them continuing this improvement over at my house? And I mean, those planes you showed me were fantastic. I mean, all the work vegetation putting in.
It's beautiful, Barry. I am, of course, I have a slight interest in town beautification, and I am incredibly excited to know that we're going to pick up some additional trees, not lose any, and wind up with a vegetative buffer that's pretty in a building. I'm just jacked. I'm excited about it. And they're here tonight too. They're excited too. Dr. Raymond called me when they started construction. I think he was like a kid at Christmas. He was just wanting to let me know that we started construction. So I've ridden by and watched it too as it's come down. I think every time I ride by, they're out there looking at it. I'm not sure when the construction will be finished up. When will it be done?
It'll be sometime October.
So
This October?
Wow. Move fast.
Faster than your park.
You mean to be ready to do season light in October already? All right. Well,
Any question? The only question I wanted to ask is, it looks like on whatever that road, what's that road, Lexington?
Lexington Avenue.
There's 1, 2, 3, whatever, 7, and I guess those will stay. They'll redo this little spot here, and then they'll have parking on that side, kind of like they got now.
Correct.
To it. But all we're doing is kind of letting them use this side of the road, or this side of their parking,
To put a curb around
and
here.
put a curb around there and do whatever for that.
Correct.
And this will kind of still stay to some degree.
it doesn't look like much. It's not much. It's no inconvenience to us, but it's a heck of a big deal to them.
So, all in favor of approving the easement for Lexington Avenue to Irmo Smiles, do so with show of hand. And next item is first reading of ordinance 1304 to amend the Irmo Town Code, Chapter 2, Section 264, Rules of Order and Orders of Proceeding to add discussions. Mayor, is there a motion for first reading? I'll make a motion. Is there a second?
I need to ask something, so I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, tell me what this is going to do.
Let me make a note here.
Okay.
Right now we have in our, we call it the ordinance book, basically this thing right here, call to order, pledge allegiance, invocation, reading the minutes and so forth. And then you have unfinished business, new business, and then you would have discussions and then presentation by citizens, executive session, and adjournment. So you'd
Is
be
this to
adding a-
discuss things that aren't on here?
Well, this is just to give a place to discuss things. Technically, we shouldn't be discussing things under new business. New business is for stuff that you make a motion for and you second it and you vote on it, you approve it, and you do all that. Like Richland County, for instance, has a area called discussion items only, where
That's all.
doesn't have to have a second, and I don't know how they end it. I mean, technically, you could be there all night because you're not got a motion, you ain't got a question, you can't call for the question. But it just gives us a place to do it as opposed to doing it under new business and not really, we shouldn't be doing it
No,
because it's not
new
an
business
action
ought to be
item.
motion, second,
Yeah.
vote, move on.
And if we want to do discussion,
If it
then
were
we need to,
limited in some way.
well, that's the problem with discussions, and that's why you don't normally have them on your thing, is because there's no way to end it.
Well, right now, if you have a motion and it is seconded, then you can have discussion.
Right.
And if discussion gets carried away, you can call a question.
Right.
And then you vote on the call, and if the call passes, it's over, we move on to the next item.
I've been to a lot of other council meetings where there wasn't any. They made a motion, they seconded, they voted, they moved on.
Right.
You know,
But
and
this is for
that's
those
what-
items where we've been discussing stuff, they don't,
That's right.
so we can either say we're not going to put discussions on the agenda anymore and just leave them off, which, you know, I'm fine with that too, but I think there is times we need to discuss stuff, and it's better to discuss it publicly than it is to discuss it, say, privately. But we need to, if we're going to do it, we just need to put it on the agenda and have a spot for it. If at some point down the road, you end up with 24-hour discussions, then you gotta
Well, we don't need
figure
that.
that, or just take it
When you
off.
first brought up the farmer's market thing, I thought that was the silliest thing I ever heard in my life. I said, we can't do that. Then I saw the value after we discussed it. So there is value to
But
it.
nothing prevented you from doing that.
Well, our agenda does right now. Technically, it's not a new business, so we shouldn't be doing it. But I know we've done it, and
If we
think
don't
there's
do
some-
this, can we just continue to do it the way we've been doing it?
well, we shouldn't. I mean, we don't have a place for it.
Sure,
Well, you
we
can have approval for discussion.
yeah, I mean,
Well, you'd have to have a motion and a second, and then what are you gonna call a question on? I mean, you'd have to write it in, or do it in a way that you can actually vote on whatever you're gonna vote on, and then you ought as well just put it
well,
on.
I mean, a discussion item might turn into a vote on something.
If you put it on there for passage, you approve it. Then you
Right.
could vote it down if you didn't want to, but you'd have to put it in a way that you would word it in a way that you're gonna get a motion, a second, and a possible vote. But if we're going to do discussions, we ought to have them on the agenda as a discussion item and have a spot for it and be done with it. If we're not, then we shouldn't put them on the agenda anymore.
Mr. Moore, I'd like to ask Mr. Moore's opinion about that, about discussions. Is it fine like it is?
The purpose of the agenda is so that the public will actually know what it is you're going to do. So it would seem to me that if you're going to follow the intent of the law and to give as much public notice of public business as can humanly be done, if you're going to have a discussion item of some sort, it ought to be either on the basis of a first reading to do something or as a discussion item. I don't see anything at all wrong with creating an actual agenda item referred to as discussion and placing items for discussion on the agenda which need to be discussed. I'm not sure I answered your question, but
We cannot discuss this item unless it says discussion?
you know, I don't know, again, off the top of my head, I don't know of any case that says you're not free to discuss anything you want to discuss in an open meeting. I don't think that by simply having discussion items on an agenda, that it limits you from discussing those things that are town business that you want to discuss. I mean, they say that you can't meet away from meeting to discuss town business, and by negative implication, I would assume that would mean that you can discuss town business when you're in a meeting. So I don't think that having an item for a discussion item on an agenda necessarily precludes you from talking about anything you want to talk about. You know, on the other hand, having it as an item on the agenda certainly is another effort to comply with the sunshine laws and to try to give the public as much notice as you possibly can. I would see nothing wrong with creating a discussion section on the agenda.
yeah, but we do it now. We do it now, like we had an item on there that says I'd like to discuss the issue of farmer's market.
Sure.
And we talked about it amongst the cordialness of this council.
Sure.
Nobody had a problem with that. Nobody, I don't think anybody ever emailed us and said that they have a problem from the audience that said that we didn't want to discuss it.
There's nothing wrong, in my opinion, without having done any research, there's
Right.
nothing wrong with doing it either way. You can have it under new business.
Well, I mean, we have a cordial council here. I think that I respect a lot of folks on this council, and I trust them enough that if I need to have an issue that's pressing, and because we can't get together outside of this public setting to discuss these things, why can't we have it like we've been doing before and just put it on the agenda and say, I'd like to discuss this issue?
There's nothing.
There's nothing wrong with that, right?
As long as you put it on there as a motion. New business is
Fine, it might
for...
turn into a motion after the
No,
discussion.
you can't do that either.
Why not?
Because you got to be amending the agenda.
No, would be.
Yeah,
If I
it
put
would.
if I put an item on it that says,
you
I'd like to
put-
discuss the farmer's market, the potential of having a farmer's market. And during that discussion, we found out that, yes, everybody's in agreement that this, we need to do that it's a great idea. And then we turn it into an action item.
You can't do that. If you put it on there as a discussion item, and then you decide you want to make a motion, and it's not on the agenda, that's amending the agenda to make a new business item, and you can't do that. Until that law is clarified, you can't. And you can't put stuff under new business unless it's a motion with a first and a second, because that's what that's for, is business.
Well, I think that's
Discussions
much
are not business, discussions are discussion.
I think we have much more respect for each other on this council than to be so nitpicky or so by the rules of Robert's Rules of Order that we can't have a legitimate dialogue between us. I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll shut
I would
my mouth.
agree too, but if we're going to have them, let's go ahead and put it under. What's the problem with just putting them under there? Then you know it's on there, then you're on there, and then you're covering it.
But that's what we've done since I've been on council for 10 years.
No, we haven't.
Yes,
I
we
think we
have.
probably had 4 or 5 discussions during the previous mayor, and that was it. Because he was kind of a stickler for not doing that as well. Basically, everything that's on the agenda should be business. You're voting on it, you're discussing it, and you're moving on. Now, you can put stuff on there in a way that you could word it as a motion, make a motion, discuss it, and go through that, and then vote it down, or not vote on it, or defer it, or table it, or whatever, which is what the correct way of doing that would be. Put it on there, get a first and second. Because basically, if 2 people don't want to discuss it, the council shouldn't be discussing it. That's the general basic ballpark. If 2 people don't want to discuss it, you shouldn't be wasting everybody's time with a discussion.
But if you put it on there as discussion, one person could
Yeah, I mean,
discuss it all night long.
you could. You technically could.
You could put it on there, a typical thing would be approval of consideration for a farmer's market.
But you can also,
Then, if it got a second, it could be discussed. If it didn't get a second, it'd be just like you said.
Yeah.
If 2 people didn't want it, then, you know, it just goes away, and you go to the next item. But if the approval of the farmer's market got a second, then you could discuss it. But if one person wanted to get carried away and try to tie it up all night long, you could call for the
call for the question.
If you put it on there for discussion, it's like a filibuster. You won't be able to call the question.
Right.
Because there is no question.
And that's why they shouldn't be on there at all. Nowhere on the agenda whatsoever. Under new business, old business, unfinished business, nothing.
So I could express my opinions to y'all all night, and there's
Start reading
nothing
the
Under
else.
Bible.
discussion, you could.
Right.
And that
Start
is
reading
what I'm
verses out
afraid
of the
of.
Bible, start reading the
But the thing
dictionary.
is, if you put it under a certain item, or a certain end of the meeting, so to speak, you can sit here and discuss it all night long, everybody else can leave.
No,
Yeah.
no, I'm gonna
But
have
because
to
business is over with, everybody else can get on and walk out.
Business is not over until you adjourn.
Well, if you're sitting here discussing all night long, then you could decide yourself anytime you want to leave. I think for Bob's sake too, as he's doing the agenda, we need to clarify whether we're going to do discussions or not do them. And if we're not going to have a place for them, then we ought to just not do them, unless it's under a first and a second, and then you go into that category. But as far as doing a discussion and changing it to a vote, you can't.
You can't do that.
That would be an amendment.
Well,
And that,
I
you know,
like the way we do it.
well, the way we do it, we shouldn't be doing it. Again, it shouldn't be under new business. You should keep that category for business.
Okay.
Or we could just take it off altogether and never do discussions unless you got it in the form of approval, and then be done with it. And that would shorten the meetings as well. Because if 2 people don't want to discuss it, then you just don't discuss it. So which way y'all want to do it? Not do it at all, or put it under as a place?
But you have a motion and a second on the floor.
So y'all ready to vote?
I have nothing else to say.
But if we turn it down, then we're comfortable just doing no more discussions. Is that
No,
Leave it to-
you're not going to say that we can't discuss something if it gets a first and a second.
Oh, yeah, if it gets first, yeah, because it's,
Right.
yeah, it's on there then as a new business and it's approved.
Okay.
You ready? All in favor then of adding discussion item to whatever it is, number 9, to the whatever it's called, rules of order, do so with show of hands. And all opposed?
Okay, we'll keep it the way it is.
Well, you got to do it under first and second.
I understand.
Okay. Next item D, first reading of ordinance 1305 to annex property located at Richland County TMS 33000107, Dutch Fork Blue, and this is better known as the District 5 Administrative Office Building. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I think we've looked at that property many times, and they have indicated that they wanted to many times. I think it goes right along with our being passive, not trying to take anything. If they want to be a part of town, we'll let it happen.
Any other discussion? All in favor then of first reading of the ordinance to annex the,
We don't get any tax rebate from that.
their,
They don't pay all this tax.
They don't pay, they don't buy
Yeah,
a
they don't
business
pay
license.
anything either.
And remember, we have no tax millage.
I know.
but if they ever decide one day to move and build somewhere else, that'll be, and I'm assuming, I didn't have to see it on here, but that would be commercial designation. And it'll go to the planning and they'll attach it, whatever. Everybody in favor, do so with show of hands. Next item is presentation by citizens. This is where anyone who wants to speak to the Irmo Town Council about anything on the agenda, or anything, whether it's on the agenda or not, can do so. All we ask is you give us your name and address for the record, and anyone who want to address council.
Yeah, Jake.
Good evening, I'm Jacqueline Buck. I am here as the Executive Director for Keep the Midlands Beautiful. We're located at 1307 Augusta Road, West Columbia. Just wanted to thank the council for being a partner with Keep the Midlands Beautiful. We did our spring cleanup this past Saturday. We had 23 volunteers come out. They did different areas of town. We did meet between 8:30 and 9 o'clock here in the town hall parking lot. We had several volunteers that came early and left to work at McGregor Presbyterian. We had several groups of people that came and worked at Royal Tower and Eastview. We had couples that came and decided to work in their own neighborhoods. So they came and got supplies and worked in their own neighborhoods. And all told, we had 23 volunteers. Actually, just as I came back in tonight, with Keep the Midlands Beautiful, we asked people to send in reports of the bags and trash that they pick up, and it just comes in. And just before I came, I had another one hit that somebody had picked up 3 bags of trash in their neighborhood. So I'm still compiling some data, but I wanted to let you know that an estimated 2 tons of yard debris was picked up. 4 electronic waste units was picked up out of Eastview. We had 32 bags of trash, 8 recycled bags of trash, and again 23 volunteers. I wanted to especially thank Councilman Youngner and Mayor Heidi King for coming out, and the ever so wonderful police chief that came out, and of course the attorney Jake Moore came out, and the Arbor Day, Irmo Arbor Day Committee came out as well. But wanted to just say thank you so much for supporting Keep the Midlands Beautiful. And also, Keep the Midlands Beautiful was just notified that we did receive a grant for 5 recycle bins to be used in Irmo. So they will be the large metal recycle bins. The only restriction will be that they have to be used in a park or athletic area. So that was one of the things that I did mention to you about, Mr. Brown, about the grant that I was petitioning for. It can be used in the Veterans Park or this park. They are large metal bins, and I will correspond that information with the town administrator to let him see what they look like, where he'd like to use them. I did ask for more so that we could use it in the new park, and there'll always be other opportunities for us to get more. But as it stands, we have 5 large recycled metal bins that will need to be fastened down, but they'll be for recyclables. So again, thanks so much, and we look forward to your support in the future.
I wanted to ask, now what's the difference in, you said 32 bags of trash and 8 recycle? Is the recycle like plastic and?
Recyclables are like bottles, cans, things that we take to the recycle, that they can be recycles, and also a lot of people will use recycled yard, like leaves and things like that they'll recycle in compost. So there's a little bit of difference there. There was a lot of bottles, cans, and that kind of material over on Eastview.
And people separate those when they're picking up, one of them picks
Yes.
up regular trash and one of them picks up the?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Any other questions for me? Yes,
The
sir.
recyclable bins that you were referring to, what is the value of those bins a piece?
They are right between $800 and $1,000 a piece.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jake Moore, 335 Woodward Point Road, Columbia, South Carolina. Before I make the comments I came to make this evening, I would like to thank Keep the Midlands Beautiful for what they did. They organized a wonderful event, and some of the results that came about Saturday were rather remarkable. I believe that I had a mayor and a councilman who were incredibly sore the next day. Mr. Younger basically said he could hardly get out of bed, which was showing his total lack of physical strength, but he can use a chainsaw. He definitely can use a chainsaw.
We're getting too old for this.
Oh, well, yeah,
Some of us.
I felt the same thing on my ankles Sunday morning were definitely talking to me. We worked for about 5 hours hard. We were crawling up and down hills with logs and cutting up trees, and those several tons of yard debris basically came from the 3 of us. And
It's
it was
about time we got some work out of y'all.
absolutely, but Keep the Midlands Beautiful is something that is just a deserving organization, because I am on the board, so I have somewhat of a prejudicial nature, but some of the things that they have in the works for the future, not only for Irmo, but for this Irmo St. Andrews community, if they come to fruition, are significant, and Jack has done a great job for them. The thing that I would like to announce is last Friday evening, I think most of you are aware, but you may not be, Councilman Younginer and myself, on behalf of the Arbor Day Committee in the town, and the mayor on behalf of the town, appeared at the Mid-Carolina Electric Co-op annual meeting. You may not know this, but at the annual meeting of Mid-Carolina, they have between 3,000 and 5,000 people show up. I was dumbfounded with the number of people I saw at the Mid-Carolina annual meeting. The town of Irmo and the Irmo Arbor Day Committee were honored I believe it was last Friday night or Friday night before that, with what they called the Spirit of Cooperation Award. Now, we have it. It happens to be located at present at Councilman Younger's home because he forgot to bring it. But we have it, and we got it, and it should be displayed, I think, at Town Hall, which is where he said it's going to be displayed. I am advised that the Spirit of Cooperation Award is a big deal from Mid-Carolina Electric. They do not give this award every year. I think that the Spirit of Cooperation Award has only been given 6 times in the history of the company. And they gave it to the town and to the Arbor Day Committee for the work that has been done with beautification and the leadership that has been provided to the overall Midlands area as a result of what Irmo has done. I sincerely believe that the town council deserves to share in that award, as do the employees of the town. But I did want everyone to know that the award was received. We brought it home, and when they made the presentation, they said some very, very nice things about Irmo. Mid-Carolina has been tremendously cooperative in regard to the beautification efforts of the town. They've been a big sponsor of the Arbor Day, but they've done many other things too. But it was very nice of them to have done that, and I wanted to share with you that we received the award.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to address the council? Being none, next item on the agenda is the executive session. Is there anything needed?
Nothing I know of.
Next item.
Can you just give me an update on the park?
You got a man sitting right there who can tell you what the problems are at the park.
According to the schedule, according to the schedule they gave us last time, we're supposed to be doing the
How we doing on the culvert? City of Columbia
signal
water.
walls.
Frank went out there today
Yeah.
and was doing an inspection out there today. He said they had 24 feet of it laid and he was not there.
And then the grading's in process.
I'm not sure.
Silk fence.
Probably not.
It's in silk fence. Silk fence is done.
Say that again.
Silk fence.
It's about 80%.
They got more, yeah. Yeah, they've still got something to put up.
They're using that filter socks.
Yeah, that's what it's on.
We're not ready.
So,
What time are we on schedule?
Frank said that they were about a week behind schedule on the culvert. Is that right? We'll have to check. But I'm not sure. I'm just trying to help out the permits, trying to get these permits finalized, but Frank's handling the working with the construction on that.
That answer your question?
so the storm and, so we're about a week behind on everything then. That pushes everything back a week?
I just assumed so, but I hadn't.
Okay.
I had to ask Frank there. Councilman.
So that pushes everything back a week? What?
They should be able to catch up.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had a lot of rain lately too.
If you follow the schedule here, you'll see it ends in like June.
Y'all should never have given him this.
I know.
I told
Take it away from him.
Nah, this is my park.
There's a lot of fluff. There's a lot of fluff built in that.
Okay. No major issues that we can't overcome.
Not my knowledge.
Okay. Cool.
So,
Administrator Brown, I need to see you once we get, I need to get you to sign the maintenance agreement with the DOT.
Okay.
so is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.
It's very.
I will call the regular meeting of the Irmo Town Council to order and recognize Councilman Younginer to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this time that we can come together and meet and make decisions for the town of Irmo. Lord, I pray that you bless each one that came out here tonight and bless us as we deliberate on issues pertaining to our town and give us a safe ride back to our own homes tonight. We ask your name. Amen.
Amen. The next item on the agenda is reading of the minutes. Is there a motion for approval as written?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
And any discussion?
I couldn't find anything wrong.
Being none, all in favor of the minutes as written, do so with show of hands. Next item is the administrative briefing. Mr. Brown, anything you wanted to add?
Yes, sir. Two things. As you all know, we have an election coming up in November. The school districts have made a lot of changes in their elementary school because of things that have been going on in our country. They want to move the polling sites from all the elementary schools to someplace else because it's also a school day because it's not a general election. The kids aren't out of school. So I just want to give you a heads up on that.
Okay, do they have the approval of the Department of Justice, the Civil Rights Division?
He's working on it.
Good luck
Mr.
with
Krebs
that.
over at Lexington County, if you want to know who it is, he's working on it.
The school district ought to get it.
Well, his concern is because of the requirements in the school district, and I know we're not going to put police officers in every polling place, is to run people through metal detectors, things like that, just add another problem. Why there are kids in school, they wouldn't necessarily do it if the kids weren't in school. People were just going to vote like here. They wouldn't put the same restrictions on because they wouldn't have a control as the election commission.
When we had an election commission and we changed polling places, it was a
creates
major
problems.
operation.
Yeah, it does.
And the Department of Justice doesn't believe a word you say.
And we were forced to
Yeah.
pick select sites that were well known to the community, like schools,
Yeah.
and
And it had to be where they went to vote for
Every other
major
time.
elections. So they're going to get out of presidential and all those elections, that's going to be tough.
I just wanted to give you a heads up.
Okay,
They're
good
looking
luck.
at it. I'll give you more information.
Now, is that
as soon as I-
something the schools are pushing, or
No.
Mr. Krebs is pushing, or
Mr.
combination, or?
It's a little combination of both because the schools are concerned, again, because the kids are in school for this election, because of their restrictions on who and how people get into the school.
Okay.
But didn't they have those same restrictions before?
Not before all the shootings, no.
So they got new ones now?
Yes. I don't know if the chief knows what they are. I mean, they're just being more stringent.
When they say they've got it, ask for a copy of the document from the Department of Justice.
Okay. Well, he'll be here to brief us. He'll have to get our approval anyways before they can move it. They can't just move it.
So we can say no? Okay.
I just want you to know that's what they're kind of pushing for. The other thing, anybody planning on going to the annual meeting, Municipal Association? It is, let me see here, July 17th to 21st in Greenville. Kim will probably have the application forms for next council meeting, and we're
Well,
going
they can go online at the MASC website, and they can
And
print
fill
it
it
out. I
out.
mean, I can print it out, but I thought maybe you all might.
for reservations, but you need to know for the hotel reservations.
Correct, I'll need they'll have a drawing on May 28th as to who they draw names for all of the towns and counties, whatever that are involved, that have registered, which I have, and then they give you a time, and I think it's June 4th and 5th are the dates that they'll schedule us.
It is.
And I have to have all that information, like we've done in the past for the hotel reservations and what things you're planning on.
Where in Greenville is it?
It's going to be at the Hyatt.
It is.
Okay.
Downtown.
Just think about it. More
But you go on
follow.
MASC's website and look to see, they have a whole brochure in it.
Okay. Thank you.
That's all I have.
Any questions on administrative briefing?
Yeah, the Transportation Advisory Penny Sales Tax Advisory Committee, what's that meeting, what are they talking about?
We haven't had anything except for the preliminary, how you doing, welcome, and here are the procedures we're going to follow. The first real meeting next Monday night, 5 o'clock.
Yeah, for the Richland County funds.
And they've given us a list of their priorities from their engineers. Got like 60 different items on there.
Anyone got anything on there?
We have like number 5 on the list is Broad River Road, widening from
From here up to,
Royal Tower up to Coon Road, I think it stops.
oh, it stops at Coon? I thought it was going all the way up to
Well, it should.
the
but
peak exit at one time and up to the fork at least.
Yeah. It's already at 50 million, so it's a debate, and the committee will determine a priority list to present to council, county council. So nothing's written in stone. We can come up with all kinds of
The
priorities.
county council, right?
No.
We
No.
don't approve those expenditures, huh?
No. I said written to county council.
Oh, okay, Richmond County Council.
Yeah. My point is the committee may come up with all kinds of great ideas, and the county council's still going to have final say on what they want to do.
Yeah, they get to vote on it. And from my understanding the other day, they've already changed their mind on
A couple things.
who's going to be on that committee.
They added a couple council members.
So it might be a little bit slanted towards some areas and not toward the others, who knows, but.
I'll have
We'll
more
wait and
for you
see.
here. Yeah, I'll have more for you after the next meeting. Like I said, meeting next week.
I mean, I don't care, I just want to,
Well,
they asked us to be on that committee, I mean, are we getting a fair voice or just there for this window decoration or what?
Well,
We'll
each
see.
municipality, if I remember correctly, got 1, and then Columbia got 3.
Columbia got 4, Richmond County got 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 16 total for
And then
Richmond County and the city.
Irmo got 1, Blythewood got 1, Eastover got 1, and Arcadia Lakes and places like that, so
Right. Us and Blythewood, Arcadia Lakes, Forest Acres, we all got 1.
it might be a little bit slanted with 12 people against.
It will certainly be political.
Especially if they're going to put elected people in there, which they said they weren't. But
Second grade math.
What they said, you can't have any elected folks.
well, they said they weren't. Now this one, the one Lexington County is doing, because it's a, what kind of thing is that?
Well, they're doing theirs, but they're going to have the actual projects in order on the referendum.
But it's a different kind of bond. I think this was a capital whatever, whereas the other one is infrastructure or whatever.
Yeah.
And they have different guidelines. On that one, you can't have any elected officials at all, appointed or employees of towns or counties. But that one's a little bit different, and they can't, evidently.
Richland County's a little different.
So, any other questions? Next item is receipt of communications. Any receipt of communications?
I have one, it's a verbal one, from the first farmers market that we had Saturday. A vendor has expressed much interest to give butterfly bushes to the town, to wherever we like it, like the new park. Could be any size plot, and I just, he'll give them, but of course we would need to install them. So I just want to have consensus of council to continue talking with this vendor.
We need those.
I think they're good bushes. They get big, I think 8 foot or something like that, but
There's a couple different varieties.
There's
They're
lots of
real pretty.
varieties. And it's therapeutic. Butterflies are beautiful.
They are.
They actually produce butterflies.
when they eat on them or come to them or
They come good to eat.
Butterflies are attractive.
get nectar from them,
Except for
whatever.
the city, we never had butterfly bushes in the city. We never had those kind of things. All right.
Any other receipt of communication? Yeah, and I think that's fine, I think.
All right.
Lots of positive feedback
Yeah.
on Facebook and everywhere else for the farmers market. It was really, that was wonderful.
How did the wedding do in the afternoon?
They were just getting gathered and set up when I left, so I don't know. Haven't heard any complaints.
We hadn't heard any complaints, so.
Alrighty, next item is presentation by citizens, agenda items only. This is for anyone who would like to address the council on the 2 items that are on the agenda tonight, may do so at this time. If it's not on the agenda, you can do it at another time, but anyone who would like to address the council on any of the 2 items that are on the agenda tonight? Seeing none. Next item is unfinished business, item A. Second reading of ordinance 1305 to annex property located at Richland County, TMS 33000107, which is the School District 5 Administrative Building. Is there a motion for second reading?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Okay. And who did that, Paul? Okay. Any discussion?
Planning Commission met last night, recommended approval for the CG
Okay.
zoning.
And I don't know if you had opportunity to speak about the thing that was in the paper not too long ago that kind of made it appear that they were going to be voting on this later. I know
No, we didn't mention it last night, no.
we need to probably talk to them at some point just to see. Any other discussions?
You mean the board, the school board?
Yeah, there was an article in the Irmo News last week, I think, that had to do with the school board meeting, and there was the
They said.
comment in there, and they said, yeah, we're having it annexed by Irmo, and we'll be voting on it later. And I thought, well, I mean, it's already signed, it's, in my mind, it's too late for them to vote on it later, but I just told Bob we need to talk to Fulmer before we do third reading. Isn't his name Carl? Yeah, Carl Fulmer.
For Coffin, yeah.
And just make sure they ain't got something mixed up in their head that we need to wait on them or something. Any other discussion? All in favor of second reading to annex the District 5 property up there, the administrative building property, do so with show of hands. And next item is new business. First reading of ordinance 1306 to adopt our operating capital budget for this fiscal year 13-14. Is there a motion for first reading?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion?
Nope.
The only thing I wanted to ask, and I'm just trying to remember, but I know we took X amount of dollars, and I can't remember how much it was, off the Oak Strut budget, put it on the town budget for the police overtime and also something else.
I remember.
Yeah. And we put those into our budget?
The alcohol tax,
We've always had it in our budget. We never, it's always been in our
Just
budget.
repaid it.
but didn't we decide to give it to the orchestra?
Yeah.
No, not the alcohol, but just, we took some
The police officers and the WIT,
Oh,
there's people
okay.
overtime.
overtime.
And
So
we're
those
paying
are
it?
in,
Okay.
So those came out of the orchestra budget. They don't go into ours. I mean, they were always in ours. We always paid it.
but they were in the regular 4 point, whatever it is, 4.5.
Correct.
Okay.
It's just that we got reimbursed in the past, and we won't get that anymore.
Okay. And I think that was the only question I had. Any other questions?
The only other thing I would say is that it's still with a tax levy of 0 mills, no Irmo property tax.
Correct. Any other discussion? All in favor of first reading of the ordinance, and the dollar amount right now is, for the public record, is $4,684,347. And, yes.
And for those that are looking at the national budget, this is a balanced budget.
Yeah.
It always has been.
And annually. Do it all, yeah. all the
And
time.
audited regularly.
All in favor of the first reading of the budget, do so with show of hands. And next item is presentation by citizens. This is where anyone who wants to address Irmo Town Council on anything, whether it's on the agenda or not on the agenda, may do so at this time. All we ask that you give us your name and address for the record. Is there anyone who would like to address council?
My name is Ruby Miller, and I live at 131 Bridgewater Circle in Irmo. And I started coming to the council meeting, I think, maybe about 18 months ago. And one of the concerns that I have, I've noticed that some people that were always here are not here. And the way that I finally started remembering the council meetings is, I have it on my calendar. Is the council ever concerned about the fact that you have such a low turnout? I hear a lot of discussion about the Roberts Rule, and of course I should know more about the ordinance, and I should know more about your budget and what it looks like, and I'm sure you all do, and maybe citizens don't. But I'm concerned about the fact that, with the exception of some information in the state paper or maybe in the Irmo News, I never see any written material coming out from the council. Maybe you aren't supposed to do it. Is there ever any kind of quarterly reminder, giving details of your meeting, just the dates, that comes to the residents? Is there any effort at any time period to bring more people into your meeting? You have a handful of people, we come in and we stay a half an hour, and half the time I don't even know what you're talking about.
You have a good point. Do you have Time Warner Cable?
Yes.
Okay, Channel 2 is all Irmo, including the meeting, when we meet and what we do and everything.
Right.
And then, do you use the internet? And
Right.
You have a home computer?
Right.
Then she needs to be on our listserv, because you'll be notified, you'll get a lot of it.
A copy of our agenda.
Okay, but I mean, yes, we have TV, yes, we have the agenda. There are a lot of people that are in our town that are a little older. They have computers, no question about it, most people do. They probably have Time Warner, but there are some people that are not as sophisticated. I'm not asking that you send information about the meeting to everyone, and I'm not saying that you aren't notifying, but aren't you a little concerned that your turnout is always so low? Doesn't that tell you something is not connecting with your count, with your city? You all represent the town of Irmo. And maybe people know, and maybe I'm making certain assumptions, but looking around, I don't see anyone here.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know. In fact, I was talking to someone the other day, and they didn't even know about our new park. Didn't know about the farmer's market. They just don't.
And we used to put out a quarterly something or other.
Yeah, we did a new newsletter years ago.
Yeah,
but
years ago.
it also went to, if I'm correct, the listserv people. It's where we sent it out. So if you weren't on the listserv, you didn't get it anyway. So you had
Years
to be
ago
on-
it was to everyone.
We stopped doing that before.
It was to everyone, yeah.
Before the listserv.
Send out a, wasn't it
Yeah.
quarterly or?
Yeah, we used to mail it, but yeah, it was costly, and then we switched it over to that listserv, but I don't think we did that in a while.
Do you think
But-
No.
something in the mail might help?
Well, two things. Okay, get back to the farmer's market. I heard you all talking about it, and, you know, you probably gave a date, and it's probably on Time Warner, and it's probably on my computer, okay? It might be all there. Was it Saturday?
Yes.
You had an excellent turnout?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay. But the thing about it, I don't know how many people knew about it. As the mayor just said, he talked to people that didn't even know anything about it. I realize that the cost of sending notification throughout the city probably costs too much. But do you also put a like a big notice? Then most of the notice I see in the paper are about that big. I read details. I go through the paper. Most people don't. They go online. Is there ever anything in the Irmo News? Is it there? Is the Irmo News free, or you have to pay for it?
Irmo is free. You can pick it up just about anywhere.
Okay, but it's always there. The township meeting's always there.
Don't think so.
Not necessarily always there. We always report on what has happened at the town meeting.
Okay, but never like the date.
They're the first and third
Yeah.
Tuesday of every month.
We
I know
And
now.
that has been put in the paper too.
Right.
So that they know when.
You know, most of the area, we're new to the area.
Right.
Now, where we're from in Illinois, you don't have neighborhoods. Here you have neighborhoods. Like, we live in Waterford, there's neighborhoods. And each one of these neighborhoods has a general electronic newsletter. Maybe you could just get the address to that for each neighborhood.
Well, they can sign up on our listserv and then they can disperse it out. I
Because
think
I mean,
that's
a
a
lot
lot
of
of,
people read those in our neighborhood.
Yeah,
Because
a lot of
you
the-
find out when the pool's open, you find out
Right.
different information, you know, you
Right.
find out, you know,
Right.
who's having a rummage sale that weekend, you know, all that important stuff.
Similar to what we get with the activity report that comes out about our parks. You get it quarterly. I find it so helpful because it tells me about things that are happening. Yes, I'm sure it's on the line. Yes, I'm sure that if I do certain things, it'll be there. But when I get it, I have the time of leisurely looking through, following up, and little things like a summer camp for my teenage granddaughter. Simple things, not major things, but what are you showing your people that you're doing? Yeah, I see the ordinance. I have no clue what you're talking about. I really don't know. Maybe I should, but I don't know. The first reading of the capital budget is probably online, and I'm sure it's there. I have no clue what a first reading is, second reading, but that's me. I have to get more information. It's just that the number of people that are coming have decreased. There's someone that I used to see all of the time. He's not coming anymore. Aren't you concerned about that?
Do you have a suggestion for us how we can help us increase the numbers?
Well, one of the things that the lady said, that one of the residents said about having maybe some kind of newsletter, I realize that a big part of what your operation is cost. Do you ever have, I know you have this is our town council meeting. Do you ever have sessions at any given time where there might be a question or answer? Do you ever have a meeting other than over here, you know, like in local neighborhood? I'm not asking you to do all these things. Also, I know that the cost would be very high, but is it any time, maybe twice a year, you send anything to your people in Irmo to let them know what's happening? Can the Irmo News just remind people or just give dates? I know with me, it helps me to have dates. I now know that it's the first Tuesday and the third Tuesday. It's on my calendar. But sometimes with your residents similar to me, the only reason why I know a little bit more about the computer, I worked with computers and I have a granddaughter who's very technically proficient and she helps. She doesn't realize I don't know. She's just helpful and that helps me a lot. But you know, it's just something that, and maybe this is true across the board with city council meetings. Maybe this is true. Maybe it's because your residents aren't interested. And I'm just curious as to whether or not that's even an issue to even consider.
They usually don't show up unless they're angry or upset.
Right.
and I think too, as we just discussed, we have a zero millage rate, a zero property tax. And because of that, I think there's a lot of people that feel like it doesn't cost them any money, it's not their money, and they don't care. And that's a big problem with.
I don't think that's
Look,
necessarily true, because where we're from, I mean, it was standing room only every month.
What was y'all's tax rates?
And that didn't matter. People came out, they came.
If you go up on taxes and you're spending money, it does matter.
We'll have to enlarge this building.
We're not talking about bringing out the citizen only when we're concerned about something, only when there's a question about something. We're talking about where the township is. Are there things that we can do? I mean, I'm going to mention this, and maybe I shouldn't even mention this, but I had a robbery in my neighborhood, and we haven't had one in ages, okay? That doesn't mean we're not doing anything, doesn't mean that you have to announce anything like that. No, but what happened is this. Sometimes just by knowing what's going on in your community, it helps you, it alerts you, it keeps you aware of what's happening, it lets you know. But I guess it's something like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I guess that's what it is. But I would be concerned that I have people who don't come. The only time they come when they have a problem. Shouldn't we be concerned about people coming at a certain time period? just because they want to know what you're doing. When you run for election, what do you say that you're doing? What do you say? I don't know. I vote, but I don't know.
And I know that, like, in where we come from in Illinois, more people were involved at a younger age. I mean, I'm only 20, but I'm still getting involved with that, and I don't see as much of that here as trying to get a younger age group involved in the community. So I think that's something you also should consider and try to promote, because
colleges right up the road.
and because we're younger, we're going to be voting for a very long, considerable amount of time getting involved and trying to do that. So that's something maybe you could involve younger people to come here.
You made a very good point that we have the Harbison campus, Midlands Tech, and I don't know if that's something you have to pay for, but maybe at one time you have like a meeting for the township, okay? You may not have more than 5 people come, but it's something to let people know we're doing something for the town. We're here and we're doing something, and we want to connect with the town, and we want you to be involved with what we're doing.
It could be something as simple as all the mom and pop businesses hanging a little sticker in their window, something like, "Thank Irmo, shop Irmo." And when people came in there, they got a little flyer that said something great that the town of Irmo has done this month. This month, we planted beautiful bushes in the park, and we're making great progress, and this brings pride to the community, and it also brings people a sense of ownership. When people have ownership and they take better care of things, they get more involved, it goes uphill from there. I'm a firm believer that, especially young people, if you give them a little bit of ownership in something, they will run with it.
I bet you, I heard about the butterfly plants. I don't know even plant them, but I'm sure that you already know. How many people in the town of Irmo is going to know that we receive free butterfly plants, and I guess they're going to the park, and they're going to be planted around the area? I may see them, and I say, oh, we have something new.
And not only that, to take pride in our civil servants, police officers, our firemen. You know, did they do something great this month? Is there somebody on the department that has gone above and beyond? I mean, just little things like that.
We have a listserv, and I guess what I'm confused about is if we don't subscribe to the listserv, if we don't accept the information that we send out, what is it can we do to stimulate more activity besides making it available?
For the most part, especially older people. I mean, I find in our business that, you know, people are very personable. I think that they want to know things face to face. So I think if you know, like some other ideas, and when I was on the booster club at their school, every month we'd have a council member or the local weatherman go to the school, and they'd read a book to the kids. And you'd be surprised, they'd look at those people like they were heroes, like they were movie stars. You know, our local police chief would come and hand out candy to the kids and explain to them, you know, stranger danger, or, you know, the bad things that can happen to you if you don't, you know, do this, that, or the other. I think getting out in the community is the big thing. I mean, because really, you are our heroes. You are the people that are taking Irmo to the next level. You are the people that are handling all the money that's coming. We should trust you. We should look up to you.
Are you a Facebook user?
Yes,
Are you a Facebook user?
Yes, ma'am.
Please befriend the town of Irmo.
Yeah.
Because last week, our chief got an award at the State House from AAA, right?
Joint resolution from the legislature.
Yeah.
Irmo's a traffic safety.
Because we're one of the safest towns in the state.
How many people, I mean,
It was on Facebook, that's...
I'm on Facebook, but what's wrong with also letting the residents know? One of the things...
How do we let you know if we don't subscribe to Facebook?
Yeah, but there are other mechanisms. That's not the only way to communicate with your town. You have to recognize that there's some people that's not on Facebook. The other
Okay,
thing
well, I mean, in the newspaper, I mean, how else do we do
we were
it?
saying, like, maybe at a certain time period, you may have like some kind of like a meeting or something, maybe at the college, maybe at the have maybe like a quarterly alert Like our police department. I didn't find out how very good our police department is until I started interacting. We have some fantastic services here in this community. Fantastic. And you know, you call, they call you back. You have various things that are happening. They're there. They have a neighborhood watch. If you're away, you can call them. They'll come. If you're by yourself, if you're alone, they'll come check on you. I mean, no, there's a lot. I guess everybody knows that. No? I just think with all our grand minds, we should be, with all of the grand minds and the great thoughts that you all have, that you might realize that the Facebook, the computer, what else you said?
We got the listserv.
Okay, that maybe it's not bringing your people in, so that tells you that apparently something's not working.
And in regard to the police department, we get a little report every month. I know y'all don't, but we do. And it mentions in there what the police department is doing as far as going to, like she mentioned, they went to Irmo Elementary March 29th. And they do that. They go, and Chief can expound on that more, but they do a lot of that stuff as far as going out into the community and speaking at elementary schools and that kind of thing too. But there's a lot of complacency, and it's not just here. I mean, you look at the voter turnout in most elections everywhere across the United States, it's poor, very poor.
But that's true, but
and we can
accept that? Do we just accept that that's the way it is?
I mean, there's nothing you can do unless you, I want to say, go arrest people and bring them in here and make them sit, but they don't. We can run an ad in the Irmo News for volunteers to serve on committees, and we get 2.
I don't know about them.
We run them in the paper.
Yeah, we run them in the paper.
News, state?
Irmo newspaper.
Okay. I mean, I read it every week. Every week I read it.
Do you think a newsletter would help?
I'm not asking you necessarily, I think a series of things. I'm not necessarily asking that you send flyers out, but I think one of the things that she said that maybe having a little something in your local businesses, you know, if nothing, and also, you know, how maybe like a quarterly or biannual newsletter that comes to the township, or maybe like an insert at different time periods with Irmo News.
There you go. The Irmo News does a thing for the Irmo Chamber every month, and maybe a 4-page newsletter. Maybe the town of Irmo would like to do a 4-page newsletter.
Is it like a charge, or is it a free? Or
slight.
Slight charge.
Slight?
It could be a pull-out section. They can keep it until the next meeting.
Our slight charge, mine is like this. I got a slight charge for my fixing a water leak under my house in 30 minutes today, and I didn't think it was too slight though. But
you ever tell the community of services that our police provides? Is that on Facebook too?
And it's on Channel 2.
It's on Channel 2. It's on
Especially
Facebook.
serving our seniors.
Chamber.
I read all the time on Channel 2. Because it's a good program. Excellent.
I don't doubt it, but your attendance lets you know that something's not quite right.
well, and I agree, but I've also heard from other people that from other municipalities that say, if nobody's showing up at your meeting, that means you're doing something right because nobody's concerned. And I don't know if that's the truth or not, and I kind of doubt it, but I think that's a lot of it. People, you know, it's the old saying, if you treat a customer bad, and Barry can tell you this in his business, mine too, one unhappy customer is going to tell 10, but one happy customer might tell 1.
Exactly.
Yeah, but if you have a very good business, I'm going to take it in the reverse. If you have a very good business, and I'm a very positive person, I tend to look at it, maybe it's naive on my part, but if you have a very good business, there are no complaints, you're going to get a lot of people coming in too. So what you're saying is that by not having anybody, you're doing a good job.
Well, not having anybody coming in, because most people won't come in here just to listen. Now, they got a complaint or an issue, or then they will, but just to come in and see what's going on,
maybe you need to do something a little different to keep them motivated and keep them kind of involved.
Like mess up every now and then.
That'll help.
Well, we were doing some fussing and fighting for a couple of years, and it kind of stayed active, but...
Pass the tax then, so you
Oh,
have-
yeah, we could go back to that, 'cause that drew it, that did draw a crowd.
Yeah.
We understand what you're saying.
I think-
Maybe we need to do a biannual newsletter or something that, a newsletter in the businesses that are distributed, you know, because the mailing cost is what's so expensive.
Yeah, we get the technology now.
Because we do good things.
Constant contact,
Yeah.
email and stuff, we don't have to.
Is the Irmo News going to talk about the farmer's market this week? You know, and that it's going to be every week?
First and third
First and
Saturday.
Okay, first and third, okay.
Just like the meeting. That's easy to remember.
I mean, is it anything that you're thinking about, or is it, as the mayor says, if you're doing a good job, you don't have people coming, and across this country, you have a lot of people that don't vote. You have, you know, individuals that are not interested. Are we just going to accept that as being the norm and not initiate anything else?
Well, you know, I think that it's hard to put a finger on something like that. You know, I listened to the news as I drove from downtown to make this meeting, and one of the most contested and elections took place today, and they said there was over $19 million spent on this election advertising, and less than 3% went out and voted.
Today in the country? Less than 3%?
Yes.
Good.
The polls weren't closed at that point, but I mean, that kind of money didn't even force people to get out and cast that ballot, and there was only one vote to be made. So it's, you know, I think we've done some great things. We talked about the butterfly bushes today, but this town has made an offer to citizens. You pick a crepe myrtle, what's the oak? Willow oak, or a, those two. You tell us, we will give it to you at what it costs the town, and we buy them by the truckload, and we'll come to your house and plant it. We had a lot of people took advantage of that. We advertised it in the paper. It was talked about. But to get it to every single person, I just don't know how we can do that and try to be good stewards of the people's money and not spend hundreds and thousands of dollars in postage to send something out that winds up in the trash can.
And don't you think everybody working, women don't talk anymore in the neighborhoods and all?
I'm not complaining about that.
There's less communication between the women now. Now that we're reaching an age where we're going to retire and we might start talking again.
She knows I love her, so.
That, you know, maybe that'll make a difference. But, you know, people aren't home.
Yeah.
You know, when they get home, they have to feed people, and I think there's something to that. But now that all the boomers are retired, maybe we'll all be home talking.
I mean, in fact, as far as, I'll say one of the towns, but years ago, we put our meetings here, whatever they do, film them and put them on our website. One of the first companies that did that. I mean, one of the first towns that did that. And, you know, it just, I mean, like I say, we got the listserv. We tried the mail outs before we did those, I think periodically. We got Channel 2. We started that, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. We got their meetings, whatever you call it, video thing. You know, so I think the town is doing about everything they can. A lot of it's just up to people to get involved. I mean, but people don't.
When people get upset, they do come, though.
Yeah.
But that's once or twice a year. So it's not enough.
Do you all do anything at Overstrat?
Well, we fund it and kind of support it, yeah. I mean,
Well, that's good that you support it because it's on your sign. That'd be a shame.
I mean, the newspaper starts about,
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, do you have like a booth that says something like meet the town, and then you folks could, take turns?
We're working our legs off to try to put it on, so we don't have time to be in the booth. But the newspaper runs the headlines across the top of the Irmo News for 45 days. He counts it down, and there's some kind of
125 days.
125 days, okay?
Well, we'll be there. I think it's a great event. I was just thinking it's something that you could get out there and do for one day, and you hit a lot of people on one day. I mean, you would hit.
Well, most of us are there, I think. I'm there all the
Kim, set
time.
us up a booth.
Is that nonprofit?
Yeah, it's a nonprofit. And I'd be more than glad to sit in the booth.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We can sit there all day and tell
You think
y'all.
we allow?
I can rest if I can sit in the booth.
That ain't gonna happen. You can forget that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
She's right.
Anyone else who would like to address the council? Seeing none, is there a need for executive session? Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor of adjournment? Aye. We are adjourned.
Miss Miller.